Blog Talk Radio.
This is the old. This is not long. Whoops. That wasn't the right intro, but good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Jets Radio. That was clearly not what was supposed to happen, but this will be an interesting episode, no doubt. Let me introduce the man of the people, Long Beach Joe. Got to do some improvisation here, man. How you doing?
No, what's going on? Listen, we got a lot to talk about. Hey, it started off that's the old stuff, but hey, we're moving into the new here. We got an offseason coming up. We got to talk about the new stuff that may happen with the team, and figure out where this team is going. You know what I'm saying? So I can't wait to sit down and talk to everyone about it. Listen, I am the man of the people. I'm here for the people. Let me shamelessly promote our Facebook page. Everyone go on Facebook, search Let's Talk Jets Radio. Like that page. Our content's up there. Go ahead and give it a listen. Message us. We'll message you right back. We love going back and forth with folks about this football team. Also, leave us some feedback. We love hearing about what you folks think we do here on Let's Talk Jets Radio. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the show, man. I'm fired up.
Yeah, I'm pretty fired up, too. As always, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Talk Jets Radio. Follow us on YouTube, Let's Talk Jets Radio. We appreciate all the subscribers and all the interactions there. A lot of stuff going on there. Also, we have our new YouTube channel, Let's Talk Mental Health. Check that out as well if you want. We're doing a contest with bracelets. So that's pretty cool. And I guess, Joe, before we go into this New York Jets team, what are your thoughts on the Super Bowl teams, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers?
Well, Chiefs they got a young QB. They surrounded him with weapons. He's well coached, and they went out there and took care of business. They really, took it there and got the job done. So hats off and salute to them. The Niners, they're a good football team, and that front got after it. I mean, they really hit the Packers hard, and they kept the Packers from scoring. Things were really tough. They struggled early. The Packers, started to kind of get back into the game a little bit late, but just wasn't enough. So salute to them, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen going forward.
Yeah, and then you kind of look at the teams, you look at their success, and then the obvious question is, well, how can the Jets replicate that? In a lot of ways they can't. In some ways they can. And it always comes back to the same thing. It seems like we talk about the same thing every friggin' year over and over and over. Football games are won and lost in the trenches. It starts with the offensive line, which we've talked about endlessly, how you got to upgrade it. So that's fine. But it also starts with your defensive line and your ability to get after the passer and stop the run. And the Jets have done that to a point where they can stop the run. But you look at, the 49ers, even the Chiefs, when the going got tough, a Frank Clark got through, a Nick Bosa got through, they all found ways to get to the quarterback. And I think that's one thing, Joe, when you look at this defense where it's like, okay, they stopped the run, Greg Williams is pretty creative, they still got to find a way to get a pass rusher. They just got to get a game-breaking guy that can win one-on-ones by himself. If there's we want it to be Quentin Williams, but obviously that's going to be a work in progress. But you still need that edge guy. All these teams have that one edge guy where it's like, whoever it is, it's just they have it and we don't have it. And it's like the same story every year. It's like the trenches. You got to win the trenches on both sides of the football.
Yeah, and I think that this is where you really feel the long-lasting impact of Mike McCagnon, because the time for us to get to the pass rusher was last offseason. There was a lot of guys out there, and we just got done talking about the Packers. And they didn't win the game, but they're going to be competing for years to come as long as Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy and upright. But guess what? They got two guys over there, the Smith, Preston Smith, Ardarius Smith. Those guys get after it, and we even saw them have some impact in that Niners game. Guess what? Those guys were free agents, and we could have went after them. We did not. There were other various pass rushers in this offseason as well that Mike McCagnon failed to land too. So I look at it like this. I think the best way for us to attack the pass rushing or the issue at pass rusher is probably to go draft. I don't think we can. I mean, we can pay a top tier pass rusher, but you're going to pay out of your nose if you do that. So I think the draft would probably be the best way for us to go, and that's going to be, a big thing for Joe Douglas to attack this offseason. He's going to have to show us that he can get guys in that second, third round, guys are going to be able to develop and get better. Because even, you spoke about Quentin Williams. I'm going to stay on this Quentin Williams thing because I was told by multiple people, hey, this guy's a pass rusher. When I was talking about drafting Josh Allen, before I started talking about moving down and just getting offensive linemen, I brought up Josh Allen ad nauseum on this show, and I talked about how much I wanted him on this team if we stayed at the pick that we were going to stay up high in the first round. And I was told Josh Allen was not the guy that we should take. We should take Quinnen Williams because Quinnen Williams is a pass rusher. He's the guy that can bring some interior pressure, so he also needs to step up as well. I think his growth and maturity within the scheme and on this football team could really bode well for us and go a long way towards us getting that pass rusher. He might be that guy. I mean, that's what everybody told me. So we've got to figure it out up front, because if we don't get somebody that can rush the passer, if we don't get somebody that can get after it in today's NFL where you're just throwing the ball for 1,000 yards, we're going to be in a lot of trouble going forward.
Yeah, and you look at that the defensive line and the money that's spent there. I mean, McLennan doesn't make a lot, but they gave a decent contract to Henry Anderson, too, where it's like he's going to make almost, $8-9 million this year. It's like you get the bang out of your buck for that. Quinnen Williams, you look at some of the money that's being spent there, it's like, are we even getting the right return on our investment here? Was it money well spent? And it's a good question, because all the guys that contributed last year were all young, unproven guys. Nathan Shepard, Fodo Kasi, Kyle Phillips. Like, it was everybody but the high-paid guys.
Yeah, I mean, and you just brought up the guy, Henry Anderson. I mean, where was all the production we were supposed to get from him? You know, we were all excited when he got his deal, and it's like, hey, where's all the stuff? You know, a guy that we need to bring back that actually had some solid sack numbers for us is Jordan Jenkins. That's the guy when you look at, I mean, he's, you know, next to some of the other guys, he's one of the guys that definitely is one of the top names up there, as close as we have to a pass rusher. I mean, he gets after it, and he's, you know, got after the quarterback quite a bit of time, too. We've got to figure this out. Joe Douglas has a lot of questions, you know, to answer this offseason, and some of these guys that we're talking about might be gone as well.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I think if you want to question McCagnon as well, too, is getting the most bang for your buck in terms of free agency. I mean, we're looking at now this year, we're wiping out contracts. Like that Tremaine Johnson contract is a nightmare. The Henry Anderson one you can kind of question. You're looking at some of these deals where it's like, all right, you know, what are we doing now? Now we got to recover from free agency. We had over $100 million the last 2 years. We're going to have another $80 million this year, but now we're making up for mistakes we made the last 2 years. And it's like you look at, and I keep looking at these teams. I'm like, all right, the Jets, the defense did good, but, you know, you got to look at the competition they played. And, you know, some of the other things, it's like, all right, you're going to play better competition this year. Where's the pass rush coming from? And to me, you're exactly right. Jordan Jenkins is probably your best guy. You have guys like Frankie Louvu and Brandon Copeland and players like that emerge, but we got to be honest about this. We got to really self-scout better and say, listen, do we have game-breaking talent here? Where are these elite playmakers at? Where, like, Jamal Adams can't be your leading sack guy. You know what I mean? You need that Nick Bosa. You need that Frank Clark. You need that D Ford. You need that all the guys we could have got last year. That's the problem. All the guys that we want we could have got last year, we didn't. And now the guys that this year, the market's a lot smaller, like the Shaq Barretts and the guy from Jacksonville, all these guys. There's like 3 or 4 guys, which means there's going to be a ton of competition for them, Dante Fowler included. And it's like we could have did this already, and we didn't. And now, like, Joe, you really got to hope that Joe Douglas has a clue and can find these guys in the later rounds, that we don't just keep paying everybody $15, $20 million to come here. That's not how you build your team. You got to get these 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks that actually pan out and become like the Robbie Anderson, where, you know, an undrafted guy is actually a star for you or something like that. We need more of that now.
Yeah, and, you know, this kind of, when you look at the situation that we're in with the lack of talent generally at premium positions outside of quarterback, because I think we all kind of believe in Sam, but I could understand if some people are saying that he's still a question mark because he didn't take that big next step. And, you know, I know we'll get to him a little bit later, but when you look at this situation, I remember having arguments with multiple people, including our producer, about Mike McCagnon and his horrible drafting. Remember we used to always talk about the mid-round picks, and people would just excuse it, and they would talk about how, well, he covered that up in free agency. Well, if you look at the situation we're in right now, this is why you don't use free agency to build teams. This is why we said, hey, listen, you've got to draft well. You've got to hit on those mid-round picks. That's where your GM makes money, because you end up with guys like Tremaine Johnson. You end up with all these other bum-ass free agents that we have that we paid big contracts to that haven't delivered for us, the Spencer Longs and the so on and so forth, guys that if you just went into the draft and drafted correctly and really addressed needs via the draft, then we wouldn't have these issues that we have. And now look at the position we're in, like you just said right now. Now we're looking at, hey, all these guys that were out there last year that we should have attacked, even in the draft as well, now we're trying to make up for missed time and try to figure it out this year. When if you would have drafted well throughout your time here, if you would have really considered and took a concern within your mid-rounds and really hit on those picks, we wouldn't have these issues that we have now. So Joe Douglas has got to find some guys in these mid-rounds, that second, third, fourth, fifth round, that can be able to come in and really produce for us. But there's also other holes on this team, too, that he's going to have to address as well. Offensive line, corner, so on and so forth. He's going to have to be smart with how he addresses that, too. And I think he's going to have to use free agency for some of those other positions, particularly, I think, offensive line. He can find some solid value there. And he's got to be smart with how he spends his money in free agency, too. There's going to be a big task for him, but listen, this is the guy that everyone was, screaming about. He was heralded as this guy who knows what he's doing. He's a GM. He loves the draft. He gets it. So he's going to have to prove himself, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Yeah, and I think my biggest concern now, to be honest with you, is that our expectations going into this offseason are not going to be met by this general manager, and it's not going to be his fault. It's going to be supply and demand, where we've talked about it last week. We went through all the offensive linemen, whether it's Conklin or Scherf or Thuney or Humphreys or Balaga. If you look at the playoffs and everything else, every team wants offensive linemen. Every team has to upgrade the offensive line. That's their number one priority. Then you're like, all right, so then you say the Jets are going to say, we have some money, we have to upgrade positions. So do all these other teams. So then it's like, all right, we need a pass rusher. Guess what? So does a lot of other teams. We need corners. It's like all the positions that we need are the same thing everybody else needs, and then it comes down to how much money do you want to pay and what are you offering them? And that's where I think the problems come in. I think you're going to have to draw a fine line with your budget and be like, okay, we're only going to offer Conklin, say, $9 million or $10 million a year. If he gets $13 million somewhere else, we can't allocate that much money to a tackle. Or, if you say, hey, listen, we want this pass rusher, but the market goes to $17 or $18 million a year, we can't go that high. I just think at this point, our expectations now in free agency, I'm almost limiting them. I just think that everything we need, offensive line, pass rusher, corner, other teams need that have better situations, better coaches, and the same amount of money. And Joe, that's my concern. I thought about it last week because you made a lot of good points. I'm like, all right, you know what? Just say Conklin, for example. Like we were on Twitter at Talk Jets Radio. Everybody wants Conklin, the best right tackle available. Okay. What are you willing to pay me? How if we get into a bidding war, how far do you go until you say, you know what, we can't do this. We got to draft somebody because guess what? A lot of other teams need that, or a lot of other teams need the pass rusher. Like Joe Douglas is going to be a tough spot, dude, because we're so friggin' desperate for help, but we can't give a Nate Solder contract. We can't be the Giants and grossly overpay for a horrible left tackle. We can't afford to do that. We can't risk Sam like that.
Yeah, and I think that's what you want to get away from, and that was my issue with Mike Maccagnan, is that he would often pay guys and bring in these bum-ass guys and bargain basement shop and give them deals that they shouldn't got. Like I said, like Spencer Long, we should have never paid him to come in. There's various other guys that he brought in, too, that we should have never brought in, and they failed there, and our offense has also failed behind them, too. For me, I'm looking at Conklin. I think the highest paid offensive lineman right now in the league is like $12 million, I think, a year. I would go 13, maybe 14 for him. I value offensive line very high. And I think if you look at this year, you'll figure out why I've been saying all along why I value offensive line so high. When you're getting beat, when your offensive line is getting beat by a Dolphins three-man front, don't talk to me about anything, okay? We need to spend, and we have, quite a bit of money. I wouldn't have issues tying up, a little bit of a chunk of change here, out of our pot that we have as far as our cap into upgrading this offensive line. So I would give Conklin $13 million. I talked about Brandon Sheriff as well. I would have no issue giving him around the same thing. If you can shore up those positions and you have your right tackle, you have your guard, maybe you go get another guard in free agency as well, it really helps you and alleviates some of the needs so you don't have to go into the draft as thirsty as you would if you don't have those positions shored up already. A lot of those questions will be answered, and those are significant positions to have those questions answered because Sam's growth and maturity is directly tied to the functionality of his offensive line. We saw that. We saw him get hindered this year when the offensive line wasn't performing, when they couldn't block, how he was running for his life. He was getting hit a lot, and we saw him limp. And we were wondering at one point, is he injured? Is there something going on? We should not have those questions with him. And we saw other quarterbacks go through that as well. Andrew Luck was one of them. We saw him take hits over and over and over and over again until they shored up that offensive line. So we've got to do the same thing here. So I would have no problem paying those guys top dollar, maybe 2 to 3 offensive linemen top dollar to come in. And then, you know, it gives us a little bit more flexibility in the draft as well. If we need to trade down, if we can still, you know, garner some guys or address whatever we need to address in the draft and trade down, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm thinking. The more I think about it, the more I'm becoming nervous about this, because I just say Conklin, for example. If the money is somewhat in the same ballpark, would you rather go back to Tennessee where you're winning, or would you rather come here? You're going to stay there because you're a winning program with a coach you love.
Well,
like that's the X factor for me is going to be Adam Gase. I think a lot of situations too. It's like, all right, if the money's close, do you want to play for him? And that is a question that I'm not sure we can even answer.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is we don't have to lie to ourselves. Well, I'm not going to lie to myself. I hope the people out there know, as the man of the people, I'm not going to lie to you either. I talked about this last show. We need to keep our expectations realistic here, and we need to look at the situation and say, hey, we're the Jets. We have issues. We've been dysfunctional for quite a while. There's a circus. We've had, we're not winning. We're going to pay the Jets tax. That's a fact. You look at C.J. Mosley. We had to pay him to get him to come here. If the money would have been close with the Ravens, he'd be a Raven right now. Okay, we got to get real. If you want to get better, and we've been bad for so long, we've made so many bad decisions for so long, we've been losing for so long, we've been dysfunctional for so long, you pay for that. One of those places that you pay is in free agency. So if the money is close, then we need to offer more than the Titans are offering, period. We need to go out there and get our guys. If this is a guy that we covet and a guy we value in free agency, a guy that we think is going to be able to keep Sam upright, and not just keep Sam upright, but also bolster our running game as well, then we need to go after and get these guys. I'm tired of being beat up front. I'm tired of our quarterbacks having to run for their lives. I'm tired of our quarterbacks taking shots. And I'm tired of our offense being asked because we're afraid when we go up against a team with a half-decent pass rusher that he's going to destroy everything we do offensively. That time should be over. It is now time to address and step into the new age NFL where people are throwing the ball around and they're running the ball for thousands of yards and scoring tons of points. We need to step into that. And I think, again, addressing this offensive line will go a huge way.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see, I get this feeling, probably because I'm just not negative, but we've been down this road before, and we don't really know what Joe Douglas is, so I don't want to give him credit before he's earned it, because we gave Maccagnan credit before he earned it. Look where that got us. But it's like, I'm worried that, say, Conklin stays, Scherf goes somewhere else, and now we're going to sit here, we overpay for a Bulaga or a DJ Humphries, instead of saying, you know what, let's not do this. Let's make the draft our priority. I'm hoping that Joe Douglas has a wherewithal to say, listen, all right, I'm not going to make a foolish mistake to just say, okay, listen, I didn't get Conklin. I'm going to overpay somebody else just to get him, and have a solid plan B where it's like, all right, I'll sign a lesser guy, and I'm going to draft first, second, third round offensive linemen. You know what I mean? Just make it a priority, and however you have to go about doing it, do it. But don't give out that bad contract out of desperation. And I'm starting to worry about that a little bit.
Well, and that's something we saw Mike Maccagnan do. And I'm hoping that, Joe Douglas coming here, that he's going to be completely different. I completely agree with you. I'm hoping that he does have a solid backup plan. If these things don't work out, say he doesn't get those guys, and he's got a plan B where he can say, all right, boom, this is how I'm going to address it in the draft. I'm going to trade down. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. Or I'm going to trade this guy off the roster. I'm going to go get this, go get that. So he's got to be able to make those moves. Because if you just handing out contracts like the one we handed out to Tremaine Johnson, it's going to hurt us long term.
Yeah, and that applies to all these positions. Like offensive line, we desperately need it. And then you look at wide receiver, which we talked about last week, where it's like, all right, say Robbie goes elsewhere, which, hey, the Titans could use him. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could use him. If he goes somewhere else, don't go out and give a bad contract to a Randall Cobb, or don't go nuts and blow the bank on A.J. Green. Have some rhyme or reason behind your off-season plan. know that we're not one player away. But we're not one player away. Like, if I get one more freaking mock draft telling me how we're going to be a Super Bowl team next year, I'm going to bang my head through the wall. We're not one player away. We need a lot of help and a lot of building blocks for the future. And having this, breaking the bank for one dynamic receiver, like, say, a Amari Cooper, is stupid. It's not the right answer for us. Like, we're not that guy away from having a great offense. We need, like you said, we need 2 linemen. We're going to need running backs. We need all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we are. I mean, we definitely have to, get some talent in here, quite a bit of spots. Blowing the bank on Amari Cooper for me wouldn't. I want us to stay away from him if that's what, he's going to want, is just mind-numbing, astronomical kind of numbers as far as money. No, thank you, sir. And I think that Joe Douglas would be smart to look at this draft and go, hey, there's so many solid wide receivers in this draft. The depth at wide receiver is unbelievable at this draft. All right, I'm not going to pay these guys. I'm going to attack this. I'm going to get younger. I'm going to get faster. I could see us making a trade, and I've talked about this. I think we will go after Odell Beckham. If anyone even thinks about blowing the bag on A.J. Green, with all due respect to him, because I think the world of his talent, he was a great wide receiver years ago, but that's not the way we need to go either. So I'm hoping that Joe Douglas looks at the situation and says, all right, boom, I'm going to go to the draft. I'm going to attack our wide receiver position that way and, address it and just continue to build as we move forward. Because I've also said as well, I don't think we're going to get it all done in one off season. I think the issues and the holes that we have on this team is going to take us maybe 2 to 3 years to really kind of shore up all those things. Now, we can shore up quite a bit in this one off season and take a big step, but everything in one off season, no, I don't believe it'll happen that fast.
Yeah, I mean, you got to basically clean up some of the mistakes from the past, clean up some of the holes in the roster, and then just move forward with a legitimate plan and young building blocks with hopefully young draft picks that are going to help be part of your process. And this all leads back to, I guess, our biggest topic of the night, and as we try to change it up a little bit, and that's the quarterback. I mean, you look at these playoff teams, minus Jimmy Garoppolo, who doesn't throw any passes at all. It's a passing league, and you got to find ways to make plays in the passing game. All these teams are running the ball effectively, but the game on the line, you got to make that clutch throw. You got to be mobile in the pocket. You got to be smart. You can't have turnovers. And you look at year 2 for Sam Darnold, and I'll start off by this, Joe. I'm a Sam Darnold fan. I expected so much more out of him this year, and I was disappointed at the end. And it's not all his fault, but he has a lot of room to improve. And we'll give him the mono. Say the first 5-6 games of the season, we wipe it out and say, okay, listen, he had mono, he had a lot to overcome, he had the good Cowboy game. But then you look at the games after that, and there are some things that are still concerning where, unfortunately he's under a lot of pressure because the offensive line was kind of shaky. He's making those bad throws. He's making bad decisions. He's taking sacks. His game awareness isn't what it needs to be. Some of these things we kind of hope would go away in year 2, that big step, making guys around him a little better in the passing game. Some of those things we didn't see, and that's kind of like you need that enormous step now in year 3.
Yeah, look, I look at him this year, and I completely understand what you're saying. I've had, multiple conversations with a lot of different people that were not necessarily impressed with year 2. The mono aside, I think that there was a lot of things that were going on with Sam that people aren't talking about necessarily. If you look at these young QBs, or you look at the QBs that were in the playoffs, you talked about your Mahomes, your Garoppolo, which he didn't throw for much, but he was still out there with a solid offensive line and so on and so forth. You can start with the coaching. I think a big part of Sam's issues this year was Adam Gase and his lack of ability to make adjustments and adjust his system to what Sam Darnold does well. I want to keep reminding people that the offense really didn't get going and really did not change for the better until Sam himself went into the office and said, listen, this is not working. What we're doing here is not working. This is not, what I do well. Let me tell you what I do well. The fact that Adam Gase was brought in here to literally help Sam ascend to the next level, he should have already known what Sam did well. He should have already been ready and put together game plan after game plan after game plan to showcase Sam Darnold's skill set and what he does well. And the fact that he didn't do that and it took Sam to come forward and come out of the shadows himself and say something, just that speaks volumes about what's going on here. So I think that that's going to be a big hindrance as well. Even if you look at Sam's mechanics, a lot of people try to touch on that and say they're not very well. Well, if you look at a lot of these young QBs, they're working with legit guys as QB coaches. You know who Sam's QB coach is? Daryl Loggins. That's crazy. Daryl Loggins should not be his QB coach. There should be another actual QB coach on this roster that knows what they're doing, that can work with this guy and, clean things up. But he's not getting that. And that, again, is because of Adam Gase. Adam Gase did not want a QB coach here because he said he didn't want too many voices in that room with him going in, offensively. So that's one thing that I think people are not talking about. The play calling was bad, all that stuff. The offensive line getting beat like dogs the way they were early in the season was a big hurt to him as well. That IC Ghost game, there was guys in his face left and right. He was eating blitzes all over the place because there was pressure in his face. He couldn't even get the ball out. But there were plays. I will admit that there definitely were times where I felt like, he was a little bit off with the ball. He missed some throws here and there, but more times than not, I thought he was trying to play hero ball. I thought he really tried to press a lot this season. I felt like he was very uncomfortable and felt like, hey, if I don't make a play, if I don't go out there and do something, if I don't, find this throw or just hit an open guy right now, then we're going to lose this football game. And I felt like he was going out there pressing a lot because of it, trying to score a lot of points. So we've got to do more to get better talent around him. I mean, from all sides, from coaching, everything. Adam Gase has got to step up and be a better coach. Loggins got to step up and be better at whatever he does. So all these guys have got to step up, and we got to get better talent around him too to help him out as well. If you look at some of these other guys, Mahomes is a great example. He's a great young quarterback, but he also coached well. He also has weapons. I mean, this guy's got everything. He could just throw it all at you. He's motioning guys around. He's making moves. So we've got to do the same thing with Sam. And if we don't do that, we're going to be in some trouble, man, because we're going to end up ruining this guy.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing I'm worried about. Like, not even comparing him to Mahomes, comparing him to other quarterbacks that are just, like Mahomes is the best in the league. But look at other guys, like even just Tannehill, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm saying, like, some things I worry about with Sam, it's like, all right, we want to see him more consistent with his mechanics. We want to see him, make better throws under pressure. Know when to say when, where it's like, listen, the play's not there. Throw the ball away. Don't take a sack. Like, just game awareness stuff. And listen, that falls on the coach, too. Like, he should read the riot act going to the sideline, and that doesn't happen either, doesn't seem like. But now it's like, all right, year two's come and gone. We all expected more. You can make an argument he played better with Jeremy Bates than he did with Adam Gase. But whatever.
Absolutely.
Now going into year three, it's like, all right, first of all, don't get mono again because that's just ridiculous. But you got to stay healthy. He's been getting banged up every which way, and he's got to start becoming a more prominent figure on the offense, more of a leader. Listen, he's gonna have to overcome his coach and make these big time throws. Make his receivers better. Throw the ball in for their more catchable passes, more consistent. And it's like, to me, Joe, I think, to be honest, there's a lot of pressure on him this year. On him and Gase, but it's a lot of pressure on Sam Darnold in year three to be like, listen, we've got to see a lot more now because the clock is ticking. Like, he's going to do a contract soon. We got to know what the hell he is.
Yeah, but...
it's just... Yeah, but time's just flying, man.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I keep saying, I said this the last offseason, the clock is ticking. We got to make sure we get this guy some help here. Listen, I understand people want to see him do more. I get it. But you also have to give him more to work with as well. If you look at what we're talking about going into this offseason, there's a potential that we're probably going to lose Robbie. Hell, we already tried to trade him. So he's going to touch free agency if we lose him. And then they're already talking about getting rid of Le'Veon Bell, who was completely misused all last season. So we're not even talking about that as being a hindrance to Sam as well, where you have the elite weapon, the guy that we all were raving about when he got signed, completely, not being used at all. He had career lows here. So you tell me that didn't affect Sam as well? So, and then there's a chance Le'Veon might not even be on the roster past this season either. So if you're not giving him anything, if you're not giving him weapons, if you're not giving him an offensive line that's going to protect him, then what do you expect this dude to do? What do you expect him to do? If you look at any other franchise that is out here, that is grooming and building young QBs. You look at the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. What did they do? They got him on offensive line, guys in front of them. Yeah, you look at I didn't even want to talk about them because I don't, but I respect the Bills, but I don't, but let's go with the Bills. You look at what the Bills did. Okay, you look at their offseason, they went and got a whole hell of a lot of offensive linemen. That's what they did. They literally piled guys up in front of Josh Allen, the glorified running back. I can't wait for Bills fans to tweet me about saying that, but that's what he is, the glorified running back. But they piled up a bunch of guys in front of him, and look what they're doing with this kid. They're finding ways to win games. Even though he's not a great thrower, and we all know that, they still put him out there, and he's being coached decently with McDermott over there. They're putting him in situations, to be able to make plays. We got to do the same thing here. You can't ask Sam to go out there and just carry the team on his back with no O-line, nobody is going to block, and then now we're looking at coming in this offseason next to no weapons. Like, that's crazy. And then you're going to misuse the elite weapon? That's too much to ask a guy, So we've got to do more, and we've got to get better around him. Hell, even the coaching staff could have had a chance to get better. Our offensive line, we had a chance at Callahan. He ended up with the Browns, one of the better offensive line coaches in the league. How do you not make a change? How do you not make a change to get better? I'm telling you, everything about this offseason, even the coaching hire last offseason, everything was supposed to be about Sam. And we're seeing that wasn't true, because there's been a lot of things that are going on that seem to be a hindrance to him, seems to be a hindrance to Sam. So we've got to change that around, man.
Yeah, and the one thing, and I'll give Adam Gase credit for this, the one point that he made, which is definitely a fair point, is they now have an entire offseason together, starting once the season's over, to start working together, figuring things out. Like, it's not like, when Adam Gase came here, he had to teach the offense, he had to learn things. His time was limited because of all these stupid rules in the NFL and everything else. They don't have that barrier now. Now they already have a playbook. They have plenty of film to study. They have plenty of things they can work on. So all the excuses with that are completely gone now. Like, you've had a year of Sam now. You've tried all your stuff. You tried all your whatever you try to do, your schemes, your scripted plays, everything else. Now you know what works and what doesn't work. And now you have the entire offseason with mini camp and passing camp and all this other nonsense you guys do to figure things out and get them better. There are zero excuses this year. There's really not. I mean, this offense has to be better, and you have to save your quarterback. And the last thing you want is him to be gun shy or still be uncertain in the pocket and not making good decisions going into the season. That would just be completely inexcusable. You just can't do it. Because, some of those things we saw, and Joe, you're completely right. It was when you keep getting hit, you get gun shy, you get trigger happy. You're just rattled. And then he plays games like the one against the Bills in the season, and you're like, even the Steeler game wasn't great. You're like, all right, they're playing good defenses, but that was the Bills' second string. Like, why are we not doing better here? So now, you wipe the slate clean. Now you go into the offseason. Now you self-scout, you self-evaluate, and say, listen, as any head coach should do, this is what works. This is what doesn't work. We've got to change it. And here's the pieces we need to make it even better. And the expectations for them have got to be higher. But you just got to see a lot more out of Sam. And hopefully confidence-wise, hopefully he has those talks with Gase saying, listen, this same old friggin' screenplay doesn't work for me. I don't like this play. I don't like that play. I want to be more mobile like the rest of the NFL is. All you see these guys doing is moving pockets. And they have him sing like they're getting his ass beat. Like, all these things have got to change going into they have to. They have no choice, or we're going to be having the same conversation in 2021.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things that has to change, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily talk about it, is offensive balance. We need to be more balanced. You can't come out here and have this dude throwing the ball 39, 40 times a game where he's chucking the ball around and we're not running effectively. Adam Gase has got to stop this. I'm just going to chuck the ball all around the place. You have to be able to run the football in the NFL. He's got to make the running game more of a focal point within his offensive game plans within a weekly basis. I mean, we can go back to that Bengals game where they were like the worst run defense in the game, and I think Le'Veon only got the ball 10 times. We didn't run outside. Like, there were so many games like that where we played teams that were weak against the run, and we didn't even take advantage of that. That helped Sam, because one of his biggest friends to a young QB that's trying to grow and mature is a solid solid running back. It's a solid running game. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. Dak is a very solid quarterback, but you telling me that Ezekiel Elliott and that running game that they have up there isn't helping him along as well? There's other quarterbacks in the league too. Tannehill out there with the Titans, Derrick Henry, he's running extremely well as well. So look, you got to have some type of running game here, because if you're not balanced, you're going to have teams just pinning their ears back, taking shots like they did against us.
No, I mean, I completely agree. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to some calls, and we're trying to change the conversation a little bit this week and just talk about Sam more and what we need to see out of him. Your thoughts on how he played this year and how, how we can get better around him. I mean, it's interesting. This team, man, I swear to God. We're going to go to Paul, and oops, I hit the wrong button. Hold on a second, Paul. Paul in Long Island. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, not too much, man. We're sitting here talking about Sam Darnold. How do you think he played this year?
I think he played all right, without a lot of help. He had the worst offensive line in the NFL, so.
But, I mean, in terms of, his mechanics, his game management, just how he overall played, minus the offensive line, was it acceptable? Did you want more? I mean, how do you kind of evaluate him?
It kind of looked like he did regress a little bit with his footwork and some other stuff. Didn't look like he made that much progress under Adam Gase, so it was kind of disappointing. But there's no bigger proponent of Sam Darnold than me, so I love Sam. So I mean, I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah, listen, I want to thank you for calling in. I love Sam as well, and I think that if we, that we need to do more around him. I definitely, make him accountable when he does make bad throws and stuff. But there's just, you look at this offense this year, and it was terrible. The game plans were terrible. The usage of some of the personnel was terrible. And even going into this offseason, we're already starting to hear rumors about Le'Veon Bell, being gone. And when you speak about Sam's development, doesn't it make a big case to keep Le'Veon on this roster and make sure that he's a Jet next year and going forward?
No. Why?
So for you, moving on from Le'Veon Bell, do you think that that's going to help Sam? Or, I mean, taking away his number one, his elite weapon, one of the best guys on the team offensively, how does that help Sam at all?
How did that help him this year?
It didn't help him this year. That's why I'm saying, wouldn't it be better if we kept Le'Veon Bell on this roster if he was used correctly? Wouldn't that be a benefit to Sam?
At the price tag, even though he is a Hall of Famer, but still, I'm one of the people who didn't want Le'Veon Bell, so it's not gonna matter to me. Really don't want is probably Robbie Anderson back on the team either. I would just let him walk. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that are, but
so you want Bell gone? You want Bell gone and Robbie gone? So what playmakers are you putting around him?
No, but I didn't say I wanted Bell to be gone. You asked me about it, and I told you my opinion. I'm not actively looking to get rid of Bell. I'm fine. That's fine. But I'm not going to lose sleep over it. If they trade him.
All right. So how are you replacing Robbie? What are you doing for wide receivers?
So you sign one, draft one.
You sign who?
You sign one, you draft one. Sign a wide receiver or draft a couple.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to give us names, dude. That's who are you going to sign? If you're letting Robbie walk, who are you signing to replace him?
You draft him. You draft Jerry Jeudy or somebody. Replace. So
now you're gonna assume that Jerry Jeudy is going to be there at 11. So you're gonna no free agents and then just go to the draft.
I said get a free agent and draft a Jeudy or somebody. Well,
but what guy?
It doesn't really matter with that offensive line. To be completely honest.
Yeah, but you still need playmakers. If you're letting Robbie walk, what free agent receiver do you want?
Yeah, but what has Robbie really done for you, though? That's what I'm saying. Is Robbie Anderson that valuable?
So you need if you have Jamison Crowder and Quincy can't play and Robbie walks, who exactly are your receivers going to be? You need to have a name. Who's a guy? You can't just say anybody. You need somebody.
Draft Jerry Jeudy. I don't know, or sign Amari Cooper, or sign a serviceable receiver.
Cooper, dude, come on, man. They're not signing Amari Cooper. Thanks for calling it, man. Joe, there's no way they're signing Amari Cooper. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, listen, I don't mean to be. I guess I'll be that guy tonight, but don't call in and say just get a guy and just draft a guy. If you can't give me a name, don't call in. That's just not. It's just not a good idea. Like, dude, you don't like Le'Veon Bell, but you can stay. All right, well, he's gonna stay. Let Robbie Walker just get a guy. What guy is it? Who is it? Elmer Fudd? Daffy Duck? Donald Duck? Who is it?
Look, come on. Look, I want to thank you for calling in. He could have gave us a little bit more, but look, I understand.
Just draft the guy.
It sounds to me like
we've been just drafting the guy for 10 years. How'd that work out for us?
Listen, it just sounds like he's just been fed up. Sound like he was fed up with the season. I understand, his anger. That's what I heard. I heard the anger and the frustration about the season.
Just the guy, Joe.
Well, look. I think
just get Jerry Jeudy at 11. No big deal. He's not gonna be there, but just get him there anyway. No big deal. Just get him. Yeah, no big deal.
Look. But one thing I want to hit on that he was kind of touching on a little bit was that, hey, look, if you're gonna let Robbie walk, if you're letting Robbie walk and you let Le'Veon Bell walk, that's going to be a huge hit to the offense, a huge hit. And you better have a plan to fix that, because literally you're leaving a gaping hole in your offense. You're ridding your offense of two of your best playmakers, period. I mean, Crowder is a solid wide receiver. Everyone's keep talking about Quincy. I don't know why everyone's talking about Quincy, because he's never healthy, so I don't think you can trust him for a full season. And I don't even know if he's really even coming back with spinal stenosis. I don't think that's happening. So you're looking at going in there with Crowder, and you're wondering who else is going to be able to develop. It's a bunch of question marks. And I don't think you want to go into, next season with just that. So if that's what's going to happen, if they do move on from Le'Veon, again, the rumors are swirling around out there, and they don't want to pay, Robbie, you better have one hell of a plan to fix this issue, or you're putting Sam in a horrible position.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, this is one thing I'm always curious about, Joe. When you watch some of these games, does it seem like every team has like a lot more team speed on offense than we do? Like the Chiefs are not. The Chiefs are just loaded with crazy talent. I mean, they draft talent, they have talent, they just have. But you look at some of these teams, and you see like the reason why the Packers struggle, because all you have is Devontae Adams, and all their other guys, the supporting guys, really couldn't help them out. But the successful teams are just loaded with speedy playmakers. And it seems like the Jets, Le'Veon Bell's not that guy. Bilal Powell, love him. He's not really that guy. Ty Montgomery's good, but Trenton Cannon could be, but he's, not very consistent. But it seems like a lot of these other teams have so much more speed than we do, like overall speed.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you see. And a lot of these teams are drafting these guys. You look at the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are a great example. You look at their wide receiving core. I know a lot of people were kind of, turning their nose up at DK Metcalf. I bet you're not turning your nose up at his ass now. That dude is a monster, okay? And he can move. He's fast. He's got hands. He's a big dude, so he can make catches down the field. That's more team speed. That's youth, though. They're finding those guys in the draft. You can go back to the Chiefs, like you talked about. They have so much, but they have guys behind Tyreek Hill that can move as well. Hardman, all those other guys that are moving behind Watkins and Hill that can make plays, too. So you got to find those guys, man, and that's what Joe Douglas is going to be tasked to do this offseason.
Yeah, it's another year of this nonsense. You know what? No, I'm not. I'll wait. We're gonna go to Tyrone. Tyrone, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's going on, fellas? Like I said, that last
doing,
caller. I don't know. That last caller was a little different, man. So I'm not gonna pick on him. I'm just gonna say, he feels the way he feels. I think last week.
Do I get credit? Tyrone, do I get credit for restraining myself? I didn't go crazy. I stayed composed.
Tyson, I can see your face, bro. I close my eyes, I can see your face, bro. I know you about beat red right now, bro. I know you was holding back. You probably was thinking about Steve when you was thinking about. You were like, man, I just want to just, But I'm proud.
Oh man,
look, that shows the growth in Tyson. So we're definitely good.
That's right. I've matured.
But like I said, man, and I guess what the caller was trying to say is, you don't fix nothing by subtraction. And Robbie, Le'Veon, no line. I mean, people have to understand, bro. We're not going to fix everything in one off season. I don't care how good Joe Douglas is. I mean, if he could, I'd be extremely happy. But when you have as many holes as we have, and then this is the point nobody's really understanding. We're not a desirable team. Like, we're not a team that you're going to want to go to and just build your, you're going to have to overpay for free agents because, you have a head coach that's unstable. You have the worst media in the country. And then on top of that, man, you have ownership that just doesn't get it. So you're not like going to a great franchise. You guys hit on it earlier. When the free agent starts, everyone's going to be out here going to the best team. The Colts have $90 million. Would you choose the Colts over the Jets? Yes, I would. Yes, you have a Sam Darnold and you have a Jamal Adams. You have pieces there. You have Greg Williams. But when you have a guy like Adam Gase, man, and you have the history that we have, I mean, it's going to be hard to do somebody to come to the Jets. I mean, look at my man. Old boy got sick, bro. Like, he got sick. Who does that, man? Where they do that at, bro? He got physically sick on his way to go sign his contract with join the Jets, bro. I mean, that doesn't say anything, bro.
So what is? So you look at, and I agree with you about Robbie Anderson. I can make a good case to keep him. I would keep Bell one more year. I don't want to lose money by trading him. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it's like, okay, you want to build around him. What are your realistic expectations where, to me, my personal feeling is these offensive linemen, everybody wants one, so there's going to be a lot of competition for a Conklin or a Scherf or Thuney or whoever, Balaga, Humphreys. There's going to be a lot of competition for them. So at what point do you draw a line and say, listen, it's out of our ballpark. We can't afford to do this because we have too many other holes. Like, what's a realistic expectation for this free agency class?
I mean, Tyson, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been thinking about this for a while. We're going to have to grab one or two offensive linemen, maybe a top-tier guy. You have to throw the bag on him. You have to decide on who's the best guy, who's best for our fit, who's young enough, who's healthy enough, who has the history to where we can get this guy in and get this guy situated. You have to, Tyson. We have so many holes in the offensive line, you can't draft them all. So you're going to have to sign one of these guys. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have a plan of one or two. They're top guys they got to have. You know what I'm saying? That they have to achieve to get. And you're going to pay whatever he wants. You're going to write basically a blank check. So you have to do it that way. So I'm looking at one or two, maybe one top-tier guy, maybe two mid-level guys. So you're going to have to hope to hit in the draft. I mean, that's why I think the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Game, I think these games are important because you might find a little diamond in the rough. You're going to have to draft these guys. And I think the one thing I'm hoping with Hogan and Joe Douglas, I'm hoping they really understand that, I'm telling you, every year you go to the combine, you see these guys perform, and these guys test out the water. And, oh, my God, this is a steal. And these guys suck. But the guys that show up on tape every week are the guys we need to go after. Those are the guys that perform. Look at the guy from Buffalo, the running back. Look at this kid. Everyone says, oh, this kid is 40 times as slow. This kid's going to be a monster. We're going to have to deal with this kid for a couple of years because he's a really good player. He's showing it on tape. So I'm hoping that they can grab – I mean, seriously, man, we need at least 4 offensive spots. And if you bring Beachum back, bro, I'm serious. You really looking at 4 spots. If you keep Harris, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you're still looking at 3 to 4 spots on the line that really needs to do that. And it starts there protecting Sam. I mean, you have to bring in a receiver this year. The free agency this year is horrible. So it would be nice to get 1 or 2 good receivers in the draft. You know what I'm saying? And you can actually do that with maybe a second rounder and a 4th rounder that could come in and produce. But I mean, offensive line has to be the key. I'm being real with you, man. I'm not even looking at the pass rusher this year. I just don't see us being able to grab one unless Joe Douglas can draft one in his 3rd, 4th, or 5th round.
Yeah. And Tyrone, I want to thank you for calling. I love talking to you on a weekly basis. You hit the nail on the head, man. And I've been saying that for a long-ass time, especially going into this offseason, that we're going to have to sign some guys in here to really shore up this offensive line. I think the big name that should be on that board, if it's on that board in the Jets offense, should be Brandon Sheriff. I think that's the guy you have to get. You have to bring him in there. Brandon Sheriff and Jack Conklin should be the 2 names that are on top of that list. I said it last show. I'm going to keep saying it until we figure out whether those guys get signed somewhere else or we sign them. Those are two guys that we should be going after. Now, the thing about offensive line is you can find a solid starting offensive lineman in your late rounds. You can find guys in that third round, sometimes even in that fourth round, that could come in and be solid starters for you. I mean, be really solid. So that's not unheard of. And if Joe Douglas is this draft guru, this draft wizard, he should be able to do that because there's various other teams throughout the entire NFL that we've seen do that. Now, the thing about our wide receiver spots, I will agree with you. If we're letting Robbie walk, you got to fill that spot there. But this is a really deep receiver draft. So I think that we could also get, maybe a receiver in the second round or something like that. Maybe you attack a receiver outside of attacking offensive line early. So that's something that we can do too. But I want to go back to Sam with you, man, because you touched on some things that could really help him out. But what does Sam need to do in your mind to take the next step next season where you'll say, hey, this guy has really ascended?
I mean, this is the thing with Sam. I think Sam will ascend in this year. I think that, we got to look at it. The kid had mono, which, I just think it's crazy as I don't know what, but he had mono, so he missed 6 games, but I think at the same time, at the end of the season, he played well under the circumstances he was put into. I think the 6-2, the thing they keep talking about is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about growth as him as a player. But I think that if you give Sam a stable offensive line, you have the defense that can hold if you get some cornerbacks and give him a good running game. I think Sam is a really good quarterback, and I'm going to stand on this, man. I'm going to say that Sam is the best quarterback in that draft class when it's all said and done, when the smoke is done. But I think you have to protect this kid. I think he works. I think he puts his head down and he grinds. He played hurt last year, but you have to protect him. He does good moving out the pocket, but you can't have this kid just taking the kind of shots he took last year. But he fought through that. I mean, his progressions are getting better. I think the one thing is his mechanics. He got really uncomfortable, making a back foot throw and not squaring his shoulders and not taking his time, But when you guys are leaving guys unblocked as part of your offensive assignment, it's just not good.
Yeah,
I think he's grown.
But don't you think he has to improve with his situational awareness and his game awareness where he can't take a sack, he's got to throw the ball away, like he can't throw the ball for grabs, like it's just like a hot potato, like things like that he did throughout the season, which is beyond concerning. Those are things you just cannot do.
And Tyson, I was just alluding to that. I think that was the biggest. And I think the biggest thing, and I'm not even talking about the sacks part of it. I want to just say, field awareness, throwing the ball away, and throwing the ball up for grabs. That's just bad mistakes he made, but that comes with being a young player. But if you could imagine if Sam had more time, Sam can really flick that ball, man. And Sam makes really good decisions, but he's still young, so he's still staring down receivers. But when your offense is not geared to have a breakout receivers or have guys really get open, he's made some really tight throws. And I think having a guy like Crowder, having a guy like Bell, if he used right last year, could have made Sam's job a lot easier. Having a guy like Robbie, having Q, or having Herndon, having the other tight end we just re-signed. I mean, all those things are going to factor in. But I think he's going to grow because, if you notice, man, each year he's got better. I mean, I think, to me, you got to figure in, the kid missed 6 games. You know what I'm saying? He missed almost 6 games. So you're looking at, being out, then he was sick the first game. So you're looking at all of that, and you see the growth over there. Now, imagine Sam played the whole season. We would have made the playoffs. I guarantee we would have made the playoffs. So when you look at it like that, with the whack roster we had, it's just the point of he's going to grow because he puts the work in, and it's up to Gage to make his job easier, which, I'm not confident in that. And it's up there. So I'm not going to say Gage. I'm going to say it's up to Joe Douglas to put the right players in there so Sam can be protected. If Sam has time and he can run the football, man, Sam can be really successful. I mean, he's not a Mark Sanchez-type player to where, we'll run the ball, play good defense. Sam can actually win you a game. Sam can make the kind of throws that can bring you back. But he's still young. Yeah. And I think if he progresses in the offseason, going to work with Jordan Palmer, putting that work in and getting better, he wants to be a good quarterback. And the thing I love about this kid the most, this kid doesn't complain. Because, to be honest with you, he has everything he can complain about. Imagine having a Baker Mayfield and on our roster right now with what went on last season. So to watch this kid grow as a young man, and he's 22 years old, so I'm going to hold him to that. But he carries himself a lot older, man. So I think that he's going to be a good quarterback in the near and dear. And even Gage, man, even he'll be maybe next year he'll understand what Sam does well, and maybe he'll come up with a better game plan. But I think that Sam, when it gets to the point, I think Sam's going to own his own offense, and I think that's what made Gase. Everyone says Gase is the offensive genius. It wasn't him. It was Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was making those decisions on what works, what didn't work. And I think when Sam understands the structure of the offense, and this is what works for me, this is what I want to do, this is what I need to do. And, I think this year right here will come into that because he realized Gase is an idiot. You know what I'm saying? But they have to protect this kid and give this kid a running game. Let this kid, the best help from a young quarterback is a strong running game. It's a strong offensive line. I mean, it's football. I mean, I don't care if you're playing pee-wee football, elementary, high school. You had a good offensive line, you're gonna be successful because you could run the football. So I don't understand that. I didn't understand the philosophy in that. But this is 5 or 6 years of bad management, bad ownership. So I mean, everyone that wants to, like we got to fix it in one season. I mean, I'm listening. Y'all know I'm a diehard fan, and I'm all in, 10 toes in, bro. But I know realistically, man, it's not going to be fixed in one season. I mean, we have so many other holes. Then we got to sign players that we need back. We need Poole back. We need Double J back. We need these guys back. I would like to see Avery's come back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these are the guys that we need back just to maintain what we have now. Now, you're trying to subtract Robbie. You're trying to subtract, Bell. That makes no sense. You're going to let Beecham walk. You're going to let Winters go. I mean, this is a lot of, people that's going out. You got to replace them with somebody. And you don't have enough money to be, you're not one player away from being in the championship. You're not the kind of team that's desirable for a free agent. If I was a free agent going into, if this is my first big contract, yeah, I'm going to take the bag. But if I was somebody a little older that wants to win, I wouldn't go to the Jets. There's no way in hell I would let my agent go there. Like, nah, bro, you don't want to go there. It's dysfunction. So to let Robbie out the door, I think it's a mistake. But you got to do what you got to do. It's a business. To let Le'Veon go out the door, it's a mistake. I just think that give him time. That he's a leader. The one thing you can't coach is leadership, man, and that's something that we haven't had on this team since Rex Ryan was there. So to have true leaders in the locker room, I think C.J. Mosley will be better next year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got leaders there. You just don't have the whole package there. You know what I'm saying? So we had a bad hand this year.
Tyrone, excellent stuff as always, man. Appreciate you calling in.
I appreciate it, bro. Hey, bro, ain't nothing but love, man. Jets up, man, and just, let's just hope for the best, man. Hey, look, Greg, I listened to the show a couple of times last week. Greg killed that joke, man. I had to step my game up, man. He had me in nervous, man. Y'all be good, man. Send me out proper, baby. Send me out proper.
As always, good to hear from Tyrone. 929-477-2651. Check us out, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're pretty much everywhere. Let's Talk Jets Radio. And now we're going to go to our good friend Kevin. I love when he calls in. Kevin, what's up, man?
Good evening, guys. How we doing tonight?
Oh, dude, what could be, what could be wrong, man? We got the whole off season here to worry about the draft and worry about free agency and worry about Joe Douglas and worry about Adam Gase and worry about Chris Johnson. Other than that, we have nothing to worry about.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, at least we don't have to worry about a quarterback, which is, obviously that's a big deal for us. But you know what, Tyrone. It's something about listening to Tyrone when he gets into that zone, and he was in the zone tonight. I think Tyrone touched on a lot of stuff, and I mean, his point going back to listening to Greg, and I listen to Greg. Greg has always been one of my favorite callers, but it just seems like rationale, has been missing, and those guys bring, a certain rational kind of a thought process to what we're dealing with. So it's refreshing. What we lack in stability right now, I think. In those kind of moments, it just kind of gives me a little bit of a calm, knowing that this team is going to be jacked up for a couple of years if we don't get this right. We're right back now to having another one of those. This is our most important off-season kind of conversations again, and every one of them is really important for us because we haven't been able to get them right. But I mean, new formula, new GM, hopefully new attitude when it comes to scouting and drafting and maybe even moving around in the draft a little bit. There's a lot going on right now. There really is a lot going on. So I'm glad you guys are here to help us hash it out.
Yeah, and Kev, man, it is good to have you back on. It is good to be talking to you again. I love talking Jets with you, man. I ask you this question because there's rumors already swirling about Le'Veon Bell being out the door. There's a possibility that we'll let Robbie walk as well if he asks for too much money. Do you think we should let both of those guys walk out the door this offseason? If so, how do you think that affects Sam?
You know what? I don't think we should let either one of them go, and for that specific reason, because of how it's going to affect Sam. Listen, we can have all of the arguments about what we feel like is a fair dollar value to place on Robbie, but I don't necessarily think that Sam is going to qualify that as being, a good enough reason. How much is too much? If he's asking for $20 million, yeah, maybe not. If he's asking for 14, I don't necessarily see why that's a problem, considering, really what it is that his value is to this offense. If we build correctly around Sam, which is supposed to be the point, if we build effectively around Sam, Robbie's value is more than $13 or $14 million a year to this offense, and that should be proven just by how much it is that he's already, kind of ingrained himself in what Sam sees. And most of the big plays that we see Sam has is going to Robbie. So, I mean, what are we doing in having all of these conversations about, oh, yeah, he's not worth it? Who else are we going to bring in? Think about this, because I know, Joe, you said earlier that if we get rid of Robbie, we have to replace him. We have to bring in two receivers if we got rid of Robbie, because we still need another one. Yep. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on with Quincy right now. We don't really have depth at that position. Yeah, Jamison Crowder is a great option, but we kind of saw him disappear also, towards the end of the season. What the hell is Adam Gase doing there also? That's a huge problem. So you want to get rid of one to create two, or you want to say that you're going to get rid of one and make it easier for other things to happen. No, you just kind of complicate other things by not keeping in-house. How many years have we talked about our team not being able to self-scout effectively, to self-scout properly?
Yep.
This is a situation right here where, I mean, what else really do you need to see? Robbie is an integral part of this offense. Le'Veon Bell should be an integral part of this offense. I don't understand why it's such a big deal for people to not recognize if you have a talent. And I mean, regardless if we paid him or not, he's already paid. The contract's already there. We already owe him the money. He's here. Use him effectively.
Yep.
Make him a part of the offense that we believed and screamed and yelled for the whole offseason. We got to bring Le'Veon Bell in. We got to bring Le'Veon Bell in. How many times have we had that conversation specifically about free agency and bringing in playmakers for this offense? We haven't had a playmaker like that. We screamed and yelled, and finally when it happened, everybody was excited, and I was happy, and all of the Steelers fans were salty and all of that, and it was good. And then Adam Gase. So. Yeah, we have.
Well, see, Kevin, but Kevin, your point.
Then.
But this is what I agree with you. It's like everybody wants to ship everybody out. It's like, oh, we don't need Robbie, we don't need Le'Veon. Those are your two top pass catchers for this year. So you want to get rid of both of them. Quincy doesn't come back. Then you have absolutely no experience, because keep in mind, Bilal Powell's a free agent, Ty Montgomery's a free agent, Chris Herndon, God knows what you're going to get out of him if you can stay out of trouble and stay healthy. I mean, what are you going to come back with Jamison Crowder and Ryan Griffin and pray? Like, at some point you have to have building blocks and nucleus. and I guess my question for you is, it's like, what's a realistic expectation for free agency? Because we want all these people. Everybody wants to get rid of all these people, but you got to bring back guys. Like for me, like you self-scouting. If I'm self-scouting, I'm bringing back Jordan Jacobs. I'm bringing back Brian Poole. I'm bringing back guys like that. So if once you start doing that, that's going to cost money. What's a realistic, expectation for free agents outside of this team?
I personally think that a realistic expectation for our free agency is to not expect much to really happen. We talked about, how we're going to have to overpay, basically, to kind of get guys to come in. Nobody really would volunteer for something like this, and I think if they are, they're a little crazy. Maybe that's the type of crazy that we want, but how many guys are really that crazy, especially when these are business decisions that you make every time you step on the field? So, I don't know. I think that we're going to have to focus on the offensive line. I think that if we don't focus mainly on offensive line and free agency that we're going to be disappointed. We don't know how the draft is going to shake out. The little funky mock draft that what's the guy Jeremiah put out today has us picking an edge, rusher at 11, which I think is ridiculous. But
oh man,
we have what I guess would amount to be a singular focus right now, and I think that every move that we make this offseason more than likely should be geared towards offense. And obviously, offensive line is important. Offensive line is the thing, because really nothing else, I think, is going to have the impact that upgrading that offensive line will have. Do we target a wide receiver? I think we should. Do we bolster our tight end position, which I think we also could maybe even see some benefit to the offensive line in that as well, just by adding another blocking tight end, because Griffin does look good. If Herndon comes back and he's healthy, we have a really dynamic tight end kind of group. But I think we should maybe look at adding a tight end to maybe bolster the offensive line a little bit. That'll be a cheap alternative to maybe not being able to bring in an upper echelon guy, even though we should be trying to go all out to get one of those upper echelon guys on the offensive line. So, if we bring in 3 guys and 2 of them are offensive linemen and one of them's a corner or something like that, I'm good. I'll just be honest with you. I'm good with that, because I think that we've addressed what it is that we really need to focus on. And I'm personally not wanting to go overboard. This isn't Madden and all of these names you could throw in. I don't want to do that. I want to be realistic. I think if we bring in a few guys that are in specific places, targeted strategically, I think it'd be a smart move. If we don't, I think we're going to have a hard time. And I don't think anybody's going to be happy with what it is that we do regardless. Because I think some folks are going to be like, it's not enough. Some folks are going to be like, we didn't, we did too much, or we should have did something different. We need to stay focused. And at this point in time, obviously, what Joe Douglas is going to do is extremely important. But we brought the guy in for a reason. So hopefully his track record does precede him, and he does what it is that we need him to do. And again, we've heard this point a couple of times already tonight. We're not going to rebuild the team in one off season. But one of the first things my pops told me when I was growing up, he was like, it's not about the path that you take. It's about that first step. That first step is in the right direction. You're already, you're in good shape. But we have so many issues right now. We have so many issues.
Yep.
What's the most important thing right now? Is free agency the most important part? Is the draft the most important part? Is signing our the guys that we're trying to keep here, is that the most important thing? Should we really even be worrying about the number at this point in time? If we do focus on bringing those guys back, to Tyson's point, we're going to lose a little bit out of that cap, and that's maybe going to limit what it is that we should do, or that we can do. But it shouldn't change what we should do. We should still be focused. We should still be focused.
Yeah, and, one thing that I absolutely agree with you on, Kev, is, pouring into this offense. This is about time that we started doing whatever we can to benefit the offense on the Jets. So many years we've poured our, first-round draft picks into the defense, whether it be defensive linemen or so on and so forth. It was just always defensive-oriented. We need to start pouring into this offense. And I understand, Jeremiah wants us to take edge, but we should be taking the offensive linemen in the first round, or, something like that. We should not continue to pour into the defense unless this offense is just vastly different, after free agency, if we get all these guys. But going over to the defensive side of the ball, I want to get your thoughts. Where do you think we'll be able to find that pass rusher? Do you want us to chase one in free agency like Dante Fowler? Or are you okay with us maybe finding one later on in the draft if possible?
I'll be honest with you. I always think that building through the draft is the best possible way. And not to kind of get too far away from the defense, because it's a great point we can discuss, but that's part of the reason why I feel the way I feel about Robbie. He's a homegrown guy. We draft guys and we show no loyalty to them, and they go to other teams and they flourish. And I can guarantee you that's what would happen in this case. Robbie would go somewhere and he would be showing out, and just like funky little Deron Lee, who's got his little tweets going out because he's still active right now in the postseason. He's a scrub, and obviously he's gone, but that's a little bit of a different situation. With Robbie's a stud, man. There really is no arguing about that. We need to keep our homegrown guys. But to get back to the question, mid-rounds are possible. Look, Jordan Jenkins is the fourth rounder, and it's been a stud. Led the team in sacks, for how many years in a row, and the guy was a guy we brought in who we figured was just going to be a role player. And he's been, a pretty solid role player. I mean, that's not like he's a superstar, but he's always on point. He's always there. He's always going to make plays, and you can count on him getting that number. You can count on him being in position. You can count on him setting that edge. So, the possibility is that we find a guy who can produce double-digit sacks is not far-fetched in the mid-rounds. Jordan Jenkins is around 8-9 every year. So, I don't necessarily see why that would be a problem, considering we're still building. We wouldn't expect them to draft, Pro Bowl caliber guys immediately in the third and fourth round every year. But if we build guys that, that are going to add depth, that are going to end up, if not being a superstar starter, would end up being a really solid depth piece, second, third string guys, which is where we've, kind of historically these past few years had some difficulties in no depth. That's where I think we should maybe focus. I don't necessarily want us to do too much on the defense, especially considering we have guys that were coming back. We do need corners, yes, but if we can restructure Avery Williamson, bring him back, I think that's a good idea. We're going to get Mosley back. Hopefully he's at 100%, coming in out of training camp and, preseason, all of that, so we can see what to expect out of that. With the improvements with Marcus May, Jamal Adams, if we can bring Poole back, which I think is a priority, if we can bring back some of those guys and then add maybe a corner to the mix, I think we're in good shape. But the offense is really that's the biggest deal right now. And I think that it's good to be able to say that right now. But I think it's going to be a problem if we're going to have to continue to say it going forward. If we're not talking about the offense making market improvement by next season, then we're looking at, maybe another 3 years, maybe another head coach change, and then actually going back into this cycle of having a reboot again. So, we kind of need them to be on the ball this season. If we're not, then again, and I think we've talked about this previously, it's going to be another few years before we can actually expect anything really to pop off. I wanted to ask this question. This is kind of something that's just been popping out, especially because of the coaching questions. Brant Boyer has been a beast for our special teams here. And with some of the special teams coaches and maybe some of the coordinators and maybe some of the lower level coaching positions now getting looks for head coaches, you guys think it's possible we lose Brant Boyer maybe within a year or two if we still continue to look that way? Or, you guys think that is a thing right now?
Nothing would surprise me at this point. That's supposedly the new trend where special teams guys are so well-rounded because they have to know the whole roster, they have to hold a no game and time, fools, everything else. So it wouldn't surprise me at all, to be honest with you. But that's a conversation for next year. If we lost them this year, oh my god.
Yeah, we already lost Steve Jackson, the DB coach. He's already gone to the Bengals. So I wouldn't be surprised to see guys like a Brent Boyer, a guy that's really put together a solid special teams unit for a while, move on and move up somewhere.
Yeah, with some of the difficulties that we're having with the coaching staff, mainly the head coach, obviously, I think that's something that really needs to be looked at, because we can't weaken what is already kind of a weak spot for us by losing our best coaches. It was almost like when Chan Gailey left. Chan Gailey was the best coach on the staff. We lost him, and then everything went down.
Yeah, but Kevin, let's be honest. Dude, our biggest problem isn't going to be special teams or Greg Williams. Our biggest problem is the head coach. That's the biggest problem out of all.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the head coach, offensive coordinator. Like I'm not going to next year. I'm not worried about Brant Boyer. I'm worried about who's coming back. That's coaching the team. You know what I mean? So that's we'll get to that.
You got to understand. Yeah, you're never going to hear me ever say that. I feel like Adam Gase is the guy. I don't think that's ever going to be the case for me. I just don't see Adam Gase being the guy for us here. He could be somebody's offensive coordinator somewhere else, but here he's not going to do what we need for him to do here. The problem is that are the Johnsons going to see that, and are they going to decide to move on from him, or are we going to be stuck with having Adam Gase as the head coach and then losing are better coaches in our assistants, like Greg Williams. If we have a season where we revert to mean a little bit and come back on defense, but the offense doesn't take a step forward, that makes the entire team overall. That puts us in a little bit of a different situation, because now, Gates has another scapegoat. There could be somebody else that could end up taking the fall for him being, less than what it is that we need for him to be. And again, that just, it adds more to a circus environment, something that we've been trying to get away from for all of this time. But now, we got this monkey-ass head coach who apparently, just doesn't seem to get it, and now we're stuck. So what do we do?
Kevin, thanks for calling in, man. Give out all your information, man. Another phenomenal call.
That's what's up. Oh, holla at me, Spotty Blackman, Twitter, everybody knows. Get with me. I am going to be working on some stuff with CJ, the Painkiller DeSimone, coming into next season. So we'll have some more information on that coming up soon. But I'm going to try to get my hand back into the podcast game again. Obviously, you guys set a really, high bar. But let me get back in. We'll see what it looks like. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a great night. Absolutely.
You too. Thank you. We are going to go to Mr. Gangrene David. My screen is just kind of locked right now, so it's going to be a second. And there we go. Mr. David, what's up, man?
What's up, gentlemen? How you guys been?
How you been, man? Happy New Year. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Well, I mean, when you're a college athlete training nearly 8 hours a day, it's
going
to take a lot of time out of you.
Jesus Christ. So now we're talking to a celebrity, Joe. I didn't know we had a celebrity guest tonight, Joe. Now we are blessed. We are truly blessed. We have a college athlete on the phone. This is phenomenal.
Listen, I have nothing but respect for David. He's coming on. He's letting you know what time it is. You know what I'm saying?
So, Dave, what are your thoughts, man? What are realistic expectations for free agency? What do you think we can really do instead of all just sign, every guy known to man?
Well, honestly, I think the one thing that I'm curious about going into free agency is the main bottom line is this. The Jets obviously have a lot of money, but you look at a lot of the holes on the roster. This obviously, everybody's been saying, and I've been listening to you guys throughout the last couple of weeks, this isn't going to be fixed in one season, because you look at a lot of the holes on the roster. First of all, the entire offensive line is probably going to get completely nuked. We're probably going to get a brand new different offensive line, assuming that Joe Douglas can actually find ways to market the team properly to get these offensive linemen in here to actually provide continuity in regards to our young quarterback growing. Wide receiver, that's definitely another question mark as well, because Quincy Nunwa is pretty much a complete question mark at this point with his injury history. Robbie Anderson, as much as I would love to have him back on the team, it's hard to believe paying a guy like him $13 to $15 million a year. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball, obviously you can have the faith in Greg Williams, especially since you look at what he did this year. Greg Williams obviously did a lot more with a lot less, granted, because he lost a lot of guys, especially the marquee free agent signing that we were supposed to have this year going into the season, and we lost it pretty much for the whole year. And then he actually made what he could out of pretty much a whole bunch of practice squad guys and whatnot. So you look at the defensive side of the ball, obviously corners are definitely a question mark, and pass rusher is still a lingering issue like it's been for years. So really going into free agency, I like to see some of the holes get addressed. I like to see how Joe Douglas, being a first-year general manager, really markets the team into free agents, because you look at a lot what's transpired. Obviously, a few of our players obviously filed grievances against the Jets, and that's definitely going to be a huge hit in regards to marketing free agents in here. So I really hope Joe Douglas wouldn't have to overpay for guys, but if Joe Douglas is obviously that general manager in regards to scouting talent, I want to see now how he's able to actually negotiate contracts and market the team to free agents.
Yeah, David, look, you're already coming in with the fire. I want to thank you for calling in, man. I love talking to you, and you're talking about bolstering this offense and getting free agents in here. Who is your one must-have free agent offensively?
Brandon Sheriff, an all-pro guard, because you look at the offensive line, there's no continuity in the offensive line, because Mike Maccagnan, he was signing pretty much just second-tier, declining veteran offensive linemen, and you see how that turned out. It's killing your young quarterback. And offensive line is one of the most crucial, especially for a quarterback like Sam Darnold, it is one of the most crucial parts to an offense. especially when it comes to a pocket passer like Sam Darnold. And a guy like Brandon Sheriff, an all-pro guard, I think would actually provide a tremendous boost to the offensive line.
With injury concerns.
Yep. Oh, come on.
Well,
look, he'll be fine.
The last 2 years, he had injury concerns.
Yeah. Okay, he'll be fine, Tyson. And
all-pro guard.
All-pro. He's been very solid. Like, come on. All right, look. Go on. So David, look, you're bringing the heat right now, okay? Sheriff, I like that pick as well, but are you concerned that the Jets are going to have to overpay and pay the Jets tech in free agency because of the issues we've had franchise-wise?
I'm actually very concerned because, like I stated earlier, the grievances that we obviously had to deal with this year with Colecki Ismaili, Luke Falk, even Quincy Nunwa calling out the Jets on Twitter, it's definitely going to take a huge hit. So I think it's hard to believe that a lot of guys are going to want to play for Adam Gase, especially since a lot of guys really did not like playing for Adam Gase, and you almost saw pretty much a whole locker room meltdown this year. So I think for me, overpaying guys might be that big concern, considering that I think the two biggest factors for me in regards to trying to market the team for free agents is probably the grievances and the fact of playing for Adam Gase, which pretty much ran the worst offense in the National Football League this year, ranked dead last pretty much every single category.
So if you're looking at overall playmakers and you watch the teams in the playoffs, they all seem to have a lot of speed. Obviously the play calling, the quarterback play. What would be your ideal group of position players to be around Sam Darnold going into 2020, like your running backs and your wide receivers?
Well, I think you look at the receivers. I think you definitely would have to bring at least one receiver in here. Like I said, I would like to bring back Robbie Anderson, but it'd be a lot of money, and then you have to bring in two receivers. So I hope with Robbie Anderson, you can probably get him for a little bit less, but $13 to $15 million a year, definitely a little bit too excessive. But I think Robbie Anderson would definitely be a great piece of continuity to grow with Sam Darnold. Jamison Crowder, I think definitely a guy who you can keep. Hopefully he can actually stay in that slot position where he belongs, because you saw what he actually did this year. Made a lot of great plays from the slot, and Sam Darnold definitely can grow with him as well. Herndon and Griffin, Ryan Griffin, more or less, I think, would be the more ideal guy.
Well, who's your third receiver? If you have Crowder and Robbie, who's your third receiver?
Personally, for me, I think if the Jets really address offensive linemen in free agency, like I said, if they get a couple guys, I go receiver in the draft. I'm looking at a Jerry Jeudy. I'm looking at a CeeDee Lamb. I think you get those guys here, especially Sam Darnold still on his rookie deal. I think you could definitely get one of these guys in the draft.
Receiver in the first round?
Honestly, I would. The draft is loaded with receivers, and I actually like the talent at wide receiver, especially a guy like CeeDee Lamb, a big body receiver, and Jerry Jeudy can gain separation. So I wouldn't mind bringing one of those guys here.
Okay, so what are you doing at running back?
Well, considering that Adam Gase pretty much neglects the run game, and you look at a lot of the run game in the playoffs, it's helped a lot of teams get to where they are. I would like to keep Le'Veon Bell on the roster. I hope he doesn't get traded, and I really hope Joe Douglas stands by his word, even though it's hard to the Jets are kind of unpredictable in regards to pretty much how they handle the media in regards to whether they're telling the truth. Ty Montgomery, Bilal Powell, I wouldn't mind having these guys back too, but I would definitely keep the running backs. It's just how Adam Gase uses them. I think they could have provided a lot more than we thought, but it's just hard to think that Adam Gase has neglected the run game the way he did.
Okay, so you're running back. So you're bringing Bell back. What do you do about Powell and Montgomery? Are you bringing them back? Or are you looking to the draft to get somebody younger? Or what are you going to do there?
I wouldn't mind keeping Montgomery, and I wouldn't mind actually getting another running back later in the draft. I'll bring one of them back and then get somebody younger in the draft.
Yeah, I want a speed burner, man. I want if you watch all these other teams, they have these guys like that Tyreek Hill mode or that the Hardman. There's all these running backs that are so explosive all across the NFL. So if you bring back Bell, who's kind of like a slash guy, everything else, then bring in just a speed burn. And I don't think it's Trenton Cannon. Trenton Cannon's a nice guy and all, but he fumbles too much, very inconsistent. I just want a proven speedy back. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So now give us an update on this college athlete. What is your record? Any good awards? What are you doing over there?
Well, I mean, I kind of thought about this for a while. I mean, right now I'm in a period where I'm training a lot. I've been having a few meets here and there, so I've just been focused on training. I've been focused on getting faster. I've been focused on getting better, especially since we got a couple meets. We got a couple of crucial meets coming up, especially our school-wide championship meet at the end of the month. So I kind of restrained from making videos for a certain period of time just so I could really focus on that, as well as some other goals that I'm trying to accomplish in life. And I've just been really busy. So I've just been focused on that. I've been focused on working harder. I've been focused on getting faster. And I think the results are going to be great come the end of the season. I'm really excited for it.
Well, best of luck, man. We wish them, but I'll watch you. Make sure I'll check you out on Instagram and keep on your updates. See what you're doing.
Well, thank you guys for the support. You know, I'll definitely be back making videos sooner or later, and I just wanted to take a little break from making videos just so I could focus on that. And you know, it's been a great few years so far, and I thank you guys so much for actually supporting me through the ride. And you know, the ride's still going to continue. It's just going into a different direction or in a detour, as you guys would call it.
No problem. Thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's great talking football with you guys again.
You too, man. See, Joe, we're on a streak here where we have all good calls. That was 3 good calls in a row. No bad phone connections. No robot talk. No spaceships. It's all been pretty much. We're flowing pretty good right now.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I want to thank David for calling. It was great to speak with him, and I wish him nothing but success with everything he's doing in school and his athletic career. We've had some solid calls, man. I can't wait to continue to hear from these people.
All right, so now I'm gonna be tested here with the pronunciation of this next person's name. So I apologize in advance. I guarantee I'm gonna screw this up. Saeed or Saeed? I'm gonna try Saeed in Dallas. I'm gonna try that. See how close I am. What's up, man?
Sayed. How's it going?
I was close. That's not too bad, right?
No, it's fine. It's the second time. The first time I called in, it was the same thing, but it's like a usual occurrence. It's not a big deal. I go back and forth with you on Twitter, where I go by a different name, Arar. I don't know if you remember, but we've had you've tweeted me a couple times, and we've talked a bunch about issues like Adam Gase and whatnot. So yeah, I just wanted to call in and talk about, I think Let's Talk Jets Radio had a tweet regarding, whether you were disappointed that Sam didn't improve, the way that Mahomes and Lamar did in their second year. And to me, I'm not disappointed, because if you look at all of the quarterbacks that made such a jump, there's no instance where they made, there were quarterbacks that didn't have a good team or a coach, and they made that jump. I looked, in the past few decades, and I can't find a single quarterback that made a second-year jump without the help of a good coach or a good team. Watson had a good team. Watson had a good team. Mahomes was the perfect talent for the perfect team. Lamar Jackson had a good team. You're expecting Sam Darnold to come in and overcome and make that jump, and it's just not going to happen. If you look at all the star quarterbacks today, like Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, they all came into good situations, and then when they were developed in good situations, and then when they were tested, they were already developed enough to handle those, right? But you can't expect someone who isn't developed to handle, bad situations. And to me, that's a reflection of the Jets, because the Jets are not a franchise that is built for franchise quarterbacks. When you don't have a franchise quarterback for 50, 60 years, you only had one, you aren't prepared enough. They just aren't. That's why they always try to go defense, because they weren't used to having a good quarterback. So what they did was, let's try having a mediocre quarterback that'll win using a run game and a good defense. And so when they finally get that quarterback, they just aren't able to switch and become a team like the Colts or the Packers or the 49ers that are used to having multiple franchise quarterbacks. And that's why we're seeing Sam struggle today.
Well, I think the problem is right now this team has no identity on offense. They have no idea what they are. They're trying to figure it out and put it together. And like you look at the teams like the Buffalo Bills, the Ravens, they put together their offenses. They knew what they wanted with their quarterback, and they built around him, and they put the pieces around him. So now you look at this offseason, what pieces do you want to put around Sam to make him a better quarterback?
I mean, we definitely need to keep Bell. I mean, if I had to choose between Robbie and Bell, I would definitely keep Bell because of the cap considerations. Like all of Bell's guaranteed money will be, spent the next season, and cutting him isn't going to save us much money anyways. Whereas Robbie, we don't even know, right? Like if you don't have a good offensive line, you can't even maximize Robbie's talent, right? If you don't have the time to throw, 5 seconds later, then you're not going to be able to get him, those deep shots that you want to. So I think if we had to choose, we definitely should let Robbie go and try to get in at least a couple of decent receivers and focus hard on offensive line. Maybe draft a receiver in the later rounds. And if we had to choose between those two, I would definitely go with Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, Colin, you're bringing the heat right now, and I thank you for calling in. You're really bringing it. I completely agree with you. You look at this situation, not just with the Sam Darnold stuff. You got to be able to build around the kid. You can't expect him to work with a lot of nothing and next to no protection and a bad offensive coordinator and expect him to just pop out and be Tom Brady out there. Like that's just not how things work in the league. You look at these other teams, and you brought them up. I brought up a couple early in the show. You look at Lamar Jackson with the Ravens. You look at Josh Allen with the Bills. You look at Mahomes. All these guys that have been grown within these systems. They've been given weapons. They've been given offensive linemen. They've been given time. They've been allowed to be groomed. And then when they were tested, when they were put in situations where they had to turn up and make those plays, they did those things. But they were given, things to help them around. You can't just put him in nothing and just say, hey, go out there and, win us games. He's getting hit. He's getting killed. He's getting, having issues in the pocket, getting happy feet. Like, you can't do that stuff. You've got to set him up for success. And a big part of that is the offensive line, and you touched on that as well. But I want to know, who's your must-have offensive lineman? I mean, is it a guy in free agency? Would you rather see us go to the draft? Who's the guy that you must have on this team when that offseason closes?
So the thing, a lot of people are saying Brandon Scherf, and maybe that's the guy, but after the Kelechi Osemele situation, where he came in and he was injured, what if the same thing happened with Scherf? Like, knowing the Jets' injury history, knowing Adam Gase's injury history, like, there's a higher chance that Scherf is going to be injured, more likely than not, if he already has injury concerns. So, yes, we should go after him, but considering that he might cost quite a lot, if we can, if it's possible to get two good, pieces out there rather than just, blowing the bank for Scherf, maybe that might be a better idea. But I would definitely think that we need to get as many offensive linemen as we can in free agency before going to the draft so that we don't have to spend most of our draft capital on offensive linemen.
Is there an offensive free agent that you believe the Jets should stay far away from?
Amari Cooper, maybe. But I doubt he's going to be available. But definitely not him because his record's a bit spotty, especially in away games. Outside of that, I don't think there's anyone we should definitely stay away from.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, they have plenty of options. I think at this point, you just don't want to give any terrible contracts away. I think an Amari Cooper, if he does become available, I don't think they go after him. I think his market is going to be crazy high. It's way out of our price range. But thanks for calling in again, man, and thanks for the Twitter interactions, man. It's always fun talking some football.
Definitely, for sure.
Have a good night, man.
Hey, you too. Take care.
All right, Joe, another good call. We got 4 good callers in a row here. Can the streak continue is the question. We have good phone connections, we have good callers, quality content. We are rolling right now.
Yeah, I believe it will. We got great. I don't want to thank the last caller for calling in. He brought the heat, but I believe it will. We got great listeners, and they come in with their fire takes.
Yeah, 929-477-2651. Also, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Let's Talk Jets Radio. Check it out. Also, we got Let's Talk Mental Health YouTube channel that me and Primetime are working on, so check that out. And now we are going to Mr. Steve. What's up, man? Happy New Year.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Tyson? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing? Steve, I got a question for you.
I'm doing... Okay.
There's some interesting hires that just came down the line just the last couple of seconds. Jay Gruden going to the Jacksonville Jaguars as offensive coordinator, which I think is sound. And then you have Jason Garrett going to the Giants. Are you surprised the New York Jets haven't made any changes to their coaching staff when there's a lot of quality coaches that were available prior to today?
Yeah, no, I have been really surprised about that. I mean, because I know that Joe Douglas, had the meeting with the coaches, after his final press conference, and I'm really surprised that they haven't made a change yet. I don't know why they haven't made a change, but I mean, hopefully they'll hopefully be making it soon. I don't know why though they haven't been making changes.
Yeah, Steve, look, first off, I want to thank you for calling in. I look at this situation like I don't understand why maybe a positional coach wasn't upgraded. I don't understand why we wouldn't even bring in Bill Callahan. That was a guy I think we should have been interested in. But as far as like the offensive coordinator stuff, I mean, I never thought that was going to change because we all know who the true offensive coordinator is here. So he's not going to give up his system, but going forward, man, this is that could have been something that really could have helped and really boosted this team. Because especially if you were to bring in at least a solid QB coach, you'd be helping out Sam. But it's unbelievable that nothing was done. It was just kind of the same old after you look at how this offense performed this year. It's ridiculous. But I want to talk to you about this offense, Steve. I want to talk to you about movement, free agency we got coming up. We got a lot of guys out there. Who's one of your must-have free agents for us?
Everyone was talking about him. Sure, I wouldn't mind if I would love the Jets to go after Brendan Sure. But the one question you guys did say of who we should stay away from is Amari Cooper, because I think if Joe Douglas tries to go after Amari Cooper could break the bank with whatever offer he's looking for.
Okay, but Steve, if you want to go for Scherf, if he has to become the highest paid guard in football, do you sign him?
Do I sign him?
Yeah,
oh man!
In order to sign him, you have to become the highest paid guard in football. Would you do it?
Okay. My only question is how much money is he going to ask for?
Whatever the highest paid is, say $12 or $13 million a year. Say something like that. Like the highest paid guard. Yep. Would you be willing to do that?
If it's a must need that the Jets need, then I would have to do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yes,
if you
I would do
that, would you? If you break the bank for him, would you still look to free agency for another offensive lineman, or would you go to the draft for the rest of the help?
I mean, there are still some availability. I think that the Jets could do and maybe get some players at a cheaper deal. I would still look at a couple of players, but then if they do somehow break the bank with Brandon Shure, then it's most likely you can go to the draft. I mean, we spoke before about with the wide receivers positions in the draft in this year's free agency class, and the free agency class of wide receivers is not really that good, but the upcoming draft is pretty interesting. So I would love it if the Jets actually did try to go after a wide receiver in the free agency class. I mean, not free agency. I mean the draft class.
Would you feel comfortable with Jonathan Harrison being your starting center this year?
I personally would not mind Jonathan Harrison because him and Sam do have that connection. And the one thing I do give always Jonathan Harrison credit for was that from last year, when he did take it really well when Ryan Khalil, started at the center position at the beginning of the year. And it's just I really do like Jonathan Harris. I think him and Sam do build a really nice connection at the center position. So I actually wouldn't mind if Harrison becomes the starting center again.
Steve, bring in the fire as usual, man. If you had to decide between one of these two players, one has to walk. If you choose one, the other one has to walk. If you had to choose between Le'Veon Bell and Robbie Anderson, who are you choosing to stay and who are you choosing to let walk?
I would say between those two, I would want Robbie to walk. And this is the reason why. Because I think if Le'Veon Bell comes back, and if the Jets get this offensive line fixed, I would tell you, I think Le'Veon Bell would have a much better season.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you, Steve. My next question for you, man, is when you look at free agency, I mean, outside the guys, you know you want to go after Sheriff. I know other people that talk about Conklin, and there's other positions as well people want to address using the cap money in free agency. Are you concerned that the Jets are going to have to overpay because of how we're looked at by the rest of the players in this league?
I mean, it just depends on because there are certain players that are going to feel like they're going to say, okay, do I really want to play for the New York Jets if I'm going to get a lot of money, or do I want to play for this team that wants to win now? Like, those are the biggest questions in this free agency coming up. It's sometimes if the Jets really, really want to get that player, Joe, they got to offer him the money.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to overcome the perception of the coach and the team and everything else, and you got to pay more. They may be forced to do that because there'll be a lot of competition for these top level offensive linemen and corners and receivers and everything else. Steve, what are your thoughts on the Super Bowl matchup? Are you surprised the Chiefs and 49ers won?
Not really, because those were the two teams that I did expect to win from Sunday, but. Just glad that for the first time in 3 years that we won't have to see New England in it.
Are you happy Darren Lee's going to the Super Bowl?
I mean, sure, but even though he doesn't really get playing time with Kansas City,
dude, he's getting that big fat check and a great experience, man. You can't beat that for a young player.
I know he can't, but at the same time, though. Sure, I would be happy for Darren Lee, if, let's say, if Kansas City wins it. But, at the same time, we'll see.
Steve, good stuff as always, man. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, no problem, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Joe, I think we did it, man. We went through 4 or 5 calls in a row with all good sound and good takes, and Paul was rough to begin with, but the rest of the show's been fine.
Well, listen, Paul tried his best. Hopefully you hear from him again next week. We thank him for calling in. Well,
I have a funny feeling he ain't calling back in again.
well, hey, if this was the first and last time, thank you for calling. Maybe next time, give us a little bit more. But, look, Steve called in and he brought it, man. I love talking to Steve. Brought the fire. He knows what he's talking about. Shout out to Steve, man. That guy's one heck of a Jets fan.
Yeah, and just real quickly, some of these hires, and like we talked about this last week, so I don't want to keep talking about the same stuff, but the arrogance of the New York Jets and their staff to think that everything is fine and not upgrade any of his position coaches is incredible. It really is, dude. I don't want to. I'm not going to sit here and bash Gase again, but it's like you look at the guys that were available, like veteran, prominent coaches that are very good at what they do, and we don't upgrade nothing. And we had one of the worst offenses in football. I mean, it's remarkable. Like I work, obviously I work in the New Jersey, and all I hear is season ticket commercials and this and that. It's like them beating the Bills. Honestly, was the worst thing that could happen to this team because now it's like 6-2, everything is great, we're so great, everything's fine. It's like all these things. It's like it masked all the problems we really had, and they've had chances to upgrade their staff, and they didn't do it. It's absurd, like how arrogant they are, like how they think everything is fine right now. It's absurd.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't like to bash Gabe, but that's on him. I mean, what else can you say? The fact that
how do you not
make
one friggin' change?
Look, you look at this offense, you look what happened, you look at this offensive line, their performance, and you say, hey, how do you not bring somebody in here to upgrade a spot on your coaching staff to make this better? How do you not do that? And nothing was done. So clearly, Gabe must think that everything's okay. I mean, he was given the green light to do it. He was called safe early. As soon as we won that game, hey, our owner came out and said he's going to be here next year. So we'll see what they produce this year. It is what it is. Everyone's talking about that 6-2 finish, but they're not talking about that. We were 1-7, I think, on our start. I think we were 1-7
and barely beat the Bills' second stringers.
Barely
beat them.
No one's talking about that though. If we had finished the season how we started the season, people would be upset. People will be absolutely out of their mind. So why is it okay to start the season that way then? Why is it okay to get beat by two bad teams? We were the first team, I think, ever in the league to lose to 2 0-7 teams. We got beat by a Dolphins team that's a full-blown rebuild. And he was coaching there last year. He knows that roster more intimately than anyone else in our building because that's literally where he was. Like a couple
that Bengals game was even worse.
Oh, my goodness. And it's okay. It's okay. So we'll see what they put together this year, Everything's easy breezy, no issues at all. One of the worst ranked offenses in the league, but we don't need to make any changes. We'll see how this, plays out. And again, that could become a huge hindrance to Sam's growth because you're not bringing in some guy with a fresh that could really improve the unit around him.
And the thing that irks me the most, Callahan would have been the perfect fit because the thing is, listen, we could have the thing about there's a lack of talent and they had injuries and everything else. We had a lesser offensive line last year that played better. And the mistakes they were making it wasn't a talent mistake, it was a scheme mistake. It was communication, it was coachable things. And that's what's all right, and this is where you kind of think that Joe Douglas would say, okay, listen, while we're doing our self-evaluation of all our players and everything else, let's look at our coaching staff and why do we have the worst offensive football? Okay, well, Sam missed time. Okay, when Sam came back, what happened? They still lost to the Bengals. They still lost to the Dolphins. They barely beat the Bills. They almost blew the game against the Steelers because the offense did nothing. I mean, it's like they only highlight the good games and they ignore the bad games, and I have no idea why. It's really remarkable. I expected this, so I'm not gonna belabor the point because this is what Adam Gase does, and it's his way or the highway, and these are all his guys. But man, there's some quality position coaches out there that they just they're not bringing up, and it's crazy. It really is, man.
Yeah.
He's betting on himself, and we know how this is going to play out. We know the answer to this already.
Yeah, and it makes you start to wonder: are you really trying to get better? Because if you're trying to get better, you'll put all that stuff aside, all the ego, all the whatever it is that's holding you down. You'll put that aside if you're really trying to win in this league. If you're really trying to
team.
Exactly. What's best for the team, you'll do whatever it takes to get that. But, again, this is something that we've seen out of Adam Gase, the whole I'm going to do it my way. Even if it's going to kill the team, I'll do it. Even if, I could use Le'Veon Bell here against the Bengals. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run him 10 times, and I'm going to sit his ass on the bench. And I'm not going to spread him out wide. I'll do whatever I want to do. That's what I'm going to do, whatever I want to do, even if it's not going to be in the benefit of the team. We've seen that all season long with the play calling, with the game plans, hell, even with his dealing with Sam. So we'll see, again, how it happens, what happens going forward. But this is something that, is another pebble in the pile, man.
Yeah, it's remarkable arrogance for a team that grossly disappointed this year. So, I guess as we wrap things up, Let's Talk Jets Radio. We're at Talk Jets Radio on Instagram and Twitter. Let's Talk Jets Radio on YouTube. Interact. We're posting all kinds of stuff. We don't take any break. We're active all off season, and once the real off season starts with free agency, we get all kinds of crazy guests on, and these shows become completely bananas. So we'll do that. And Joe, it is your time to shine.
Yes, listen, I am the man of the people. I am here for the people. Let me shamelessly promote our Facebook page. Everyone go on Facebook, search Let's Talk Jets Radio. Like that page. Our content's up there. Go ahead and give it a listen. Message us. We'll message you right back. We love going back and forth with folks about this football team. Also, leave us a feedback. We love hearing about you folks think we do here on Let's Talk Jets Radio. I'm also on Twitter at YoungJ000. That's 3 zeros. Go ahead and follow me. I'll follow you right back. You want to troll me? No issues. I'm the troll that lives under the bridge. I will have my Darnold jersey on, and I will troll you right back. I'm also on YouTube as well at YoungJ00. That's 2 zeros on YouTube, 3 on Twitter. I do weekly videos about the Jets. I'll continue on. I talk about the issues that we have at various positions on this team because we need a lot of improvement here. Also continue to do, some playoff talk. I talk about other teams. I do a weekly pick, and so I'll continue that. So go ahead and subscribe to my content over there as well. You want to troll me on there? No issues. Get my comments, and I'll troll you right back as well. And as always, folks, when you see me in person, all right? Hey, man. Listen, man, listen. You can't separate me from the people, all right? I don't take no money. The hugs has always been free, all right? And it will remain free, okay? So when you folks see me in person, okay, it is arms out, chest open, free hugs for everyone, okay? Free hugs. It will cost you absolutely nothing. I want to thank you folks for listening. Without you people, we are absolutely nothing. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen and call in. We absolutely love you folks. You folks are the best.
Enjoy your night. Enjoy the weekend. We got a football while the Pro Bowl, which doesn't really count for anything. That's become a complete joke. So you got Jamal Adams in the Pro Bowl and then the Super Bowl. So we'll talk to everybody next Tuesday.